Composing a request or Sacred Heart contract is both an initiation into a spiritual journey and a lesson in the practice of attracting and manifesting what you want in your life. In this video, Lucky and I will detail the necessary steps and also demonstrate the process with examples from real experiences.
Hi, I'm Lucky Sweeny, and I'm thrilled to be here with you. I'm a professional astrologer and a life coach. I've been blessed since the 1990s to work together with Shea in classes and retreats. I have been a practicing astrologer for 40 years, and I hold professional certification with the International Society for Astrological Research. My work empowers my clients with spiritual guidance to make the best possible choices for themselves and to achieve their greatest potential in all aspects of their lives. For 20 years, I also worked in the human service field, developing innovative programs for children and women. I am a professionally trained life coach, and in my coaching, I incorporate spiritual dimensions and practical tools and skills to create clarity, direction, and effective strategies in the personal and professional lives of my clients. I am a contributing author to 2 wonderful anthologies, Conscious Choices, An Evolutionary Woman's Guide to Life, and Inspired Voices, True Stories of Visionary Women.
I'm Shea. I've been a self-employed professional astrologer for 35 years. I began working with Sacred Heart contracts and the process of manifesting through attraction in the late 1980s. I did my first sacred contract for 1990s. Co-creation is a life skill I use regularly and teach to others. I am the author of Planets and Solar Returns, Yearly Cycles of Transformation and Growth, and several other astrological e-booklets under the name Mary Shea. My spiritual writings are under the pen name Mary Juno. I wrote a book called Heart Journey, about my experiences in co-creation and the process of manifesting through attraction. You can find more information on my spiritual website at www.maryjuno.com. I consider myself a mystic and counselor for those seeking astrological, psychological, and/or spiritual guidance.
Spiritually, a Sacred Heart contract is a way to augment your connection to the evolving consciousness in a heartfelt way. Doing so also initiates a co-creative partnership with a higher power to assist you with manifestation.
I really think these 2 practices, the spiritual growth and also manifesting through attraction, are actually a powerful, dynamic pair that not only fosters insight and wisdom, but it also opens you to a whole new way of thinking and living. That's what we want to give to you, is a skill that you can use all of your life. So a Sacred Heart contract is a formal, or also it can be an informal request made to a higher power of your choice. I will tend to say God, but other people might say Goddess, Spirit, or the universe. Also higher self, soul, in order to initiate and participate in attracting and manifesting what you want. This is an important way that the Sacred Heart contract is different from a motivational, you can do it kind of program. It's not like having a checklist and running through your plans to get things done. With the Sacred Heart contract, you can tap into the assistance from a higher source. And so this necessitates a new way of thinking and a new way of responding.
And I think another quality that we can look at and experience in this is that sense of that connection that we can make with our higher power can then elicits in us a deeper inner awareness. So the process is going vertical, horizontal, up and down and back and forth all the time, and enriching our lives in ways we didn't even expect to happen.
I think the important thing about the request and manifestation process, that it enables you to tap into something that is bigger, a greater reality, and that is directly related to this higher power, whatever you may call that.
Now, in this discussion, we'll use various kinds of terms to describe this co-creative partnership. But we want to be really clear. We know that's an individual thing for each of us. Some of us would refer to that co-creative partner as God or an angel or source or the universe, whatever it is. So you will place in there for yourself the understanding that's most appropriate for you.
It is through the heart that we manifest our desires in conjunction and co-creating with our earthly self and our divine self, however you understand that. Desire and attraction are both innate to the heart, and that is why the heart is so important.
And as we know in many, many spiritual traditions, the heart is really seen as the place in between the higher and lower chakras, for instance, and the place that unifies and integrates so much of our being. And of course, quite frankly, it keeps us alive and keeps the blood circulating and keeps us in touch with life. So very potent to take all this through the heart. The Sacred Heart Contract is a 6-step process. This is a step-to-step process we'll be presenting. For the first step is discovery, getting clear, determining what you want to manifest. There are 3 different pathways to this discernment.
Determining what you want is going to be easy for some, and it's going to be more difficult for others. We'll discuss this.
This is one of my favorite things to discuss because the discovery process really brings so much forward at so many levels.
The second step is translation, putting your desire or what you want into specific terms. Whatever it is that you want must be put into some type of understandable term or symbolism so that you have a clear picture or a vision of what you want to manifest.
Mm-hmm. And this is a real exercise in and of itself, in my experience, which is that we get into the language at this point and how I want to describe what I want, and all kinds of interesting things can pop up in this process of trying to get really clear, being able to articulate exactly what it is that we want. And you'll find out that translation doesn't need to be words. And we'll get into that later. So there are many ways to translate your desire. The next thing is the composition, composing a Sacred Heart contract. And we will discuss the nuts and bolts and the do's and don'ts of composing your contract and the different media you can use.
These guidelines are things that both Lucky and I have developed over 25 plus years, so that you can have the most effective contract. Composition is important as far as how to say things. And then there is empowering your request. You know, some are formal, some are informal, some are very casual. When we get into the examples, the real-life examples that Lucky and I have, you will see from our examples, you can activate a request at any time. Step number 5 is remaining open to receiving and manifesting, and this is associated with the heart. Things might not happen exactly as you would expect them to happen, and that's why openness is so important. Remaining open to come what may assists in the process of receiving. you could be looking east and your ship is coming in from the west. It's not your job to plot out each step and push things through. Instead, your stance should be one of cooperation and collaboration. And Lucky and I will illustrate this with the examples we present.
And this remaining open has been one that I've really had to learn about and exercise those quality. And what it then has brought to me is the ability to remain open to a lot of other stuff in my life, to allow a lot of other things to happen. So it's a good process, and we'll definitely be talking about it. The sixth aspect of this process is communicating and working with your co-creative partner. So this is communication with a higher power, however you understand that, and whether it's an angel or God or goddess, whatever it is, that we're really going to look at how you are in a co-creative process, communicating, receiving communication, giving communication, a back and forth. That's a really valuable skill.
Yes, it is a valuable skill because it has a strong emphasis on other parts of your life where you feel that link is there and you feel that protection, you feel that sense of being supported and being loved. And so learning how to communicate with your co-creative partner within the process of manifestation, it's like you're working on a particular plan. This is what we're attracting, this is what we're manifesting. But at the same time, there's a relationship building, and that relationship is very dynamic, but also very beautiful and very supportive and very loving. We're going to start going through these with the examples. First, the discovery, to get it clear, then translating your desire into specific terms, composing an effective Sacred Heart contract. You can initiate your contract, then remaining open, working on the process of attracting and manifesting while you're also starting to communicate and work with your co-creative partner.
Co-creation is a lifelong skill and a process that you can use over and over again and at any time. Both of us will be presenting examples of attracting and manifesting from our own experiences and in accordance with the six-step process we're presenting. So we're going to use actual examples. We like this because we have the individual processes. They aren't cookie cutter. We didn't do the exact same thing, did we, Mary?
No, not by any means. So in seeing this as a lifelong process, I will tell you, I have used this technique for diet, for health issues, for finances, to sell a house, to envision a house to buy, and a number of other issues. So it really does have applications in a number of different areas. And this is my go-to technique for everything. I don't always get what I want, especially in relationships. That seems to be a little bit more challenging for me. But many things work out, and I do feel protected, guided, watched over, and definitely loved.
Shall we go through our examples now, Mary?
Would you like to start?
Yeah, great. So the example that I'm going to do is attracting a part-time job. This is from a good bit of time ago, probably mid-70s, something like that, when I was first beginning to use these processes. And I was practicing astrology at the time, but I also wanted a part-time job to have the regular income and to stabilize my income as I was building my practice. So I wanted a part-time job, and I really had a very specific idea about what it would look like and how it would work. So we'll go into those details, but mine was about that. Mary, tell us about yours.
All right. So this is very early story. This is like 20, 30 years ago. And this is probably very close to my entry into this technique. I was reading a book by Katrina Raphael about crystals, and in the book she mentioned something called the Tantric Twin Crystal. Just in the spur of the moment, there wasn't a lot of thought. Lucky was much more considered in regards to her example. But just in reading the book, I decided I wanted one of those crystals. For some reason, I don't know what possessed me, I decided I wanted a Tantric Twin Crystal with 2 points the same height, common slope to the point, and a rainbow inside. I was that specific. And when I did this, I definitely made a request to a higher power in regards to this. And you have to realize that this whole process for me took place in, I would say, under a minute. I went through the discovery, the translation, the activation, everything. What I said at the time was I made a request to God, and I said, I'm not going to write this request down. This is what I want, a Tantric Twin Crystal, 2 points, same height, common slope, rainbow in between. I'm not going to write the request down. I'm not going to look for the crystal. I'm not going to buy the crystal. I'm not going to ask anybody for it. I'm not even going to mention it again. This is the one and only time I'm going to ask for this. And you send me that crystal when you think the time is right, and I will know it's a sign. And that was my request, which sounds incredibly audacious and bold, but that's my overview exactly on how I got into this.
So now we're talking about the discovery process. So what do I want? This is a place to start. You may have your own technique that you wanted to use, but this will give you a chance to spin off what works for you. Some of the questions you might ask yourself is, as you begin composing your contract, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? What do I want to experience? What do I want to have? And what do I want to give? So the way that I work with this when I'm using this process is I will ask one of those questions, and then I am a journaler, and I also have some automatic writing skills. And I'll ask the question and then just allow myself to write. Usually you'll have something in mind maybe that you want, like you want a vacation, but you're not really sure where it would be, or you want a new job and you think it looks like this, but you're not exactly sure. Asking yourself these questions will start to stir up within you your own creative self. And as we say at the bottom of this slide, what you want to manifest is your desire. That energy of desire is very potent and very powerful.
So this is really pre-contract discovery. Like Lucky said, you could be that you want a vacation, or on the other hand, you may be pursuing a life purpose. There's the full range in here. And there's no right or wrong on this. It's a learning process. I remember one time I requested a certain amount of sales per month. And what I didn't realize was I could not work that hard. And so I had to step back in the pre-contract process. As you're requesting things, you're also learning and discovering how to manifest whatever it is that you want, what type of adjustment that you need to make in the process. There's growth and there's learning that goes here, even at this stage. Methods for discovery. Sometimes there's simply knowing, sometimes quiet time or meditation, walking in nature, just having time to reflect, be at peace, and just step back from your life so that you could have some insight come in. Dreams can also be important. Signs. I'm very aware of signs, having spent some time in Native American traditions as far as signs, things that are going on around me. There may be an awareness of what you don't want. That may be part of it. And also there's journaling. There are many ways to discover what you want, and if you're not used to this, a month of soul searching is certainly a good idea. Discovering what you want might seem like an easy thing to do, but it is a process for some people. And it can take a little time and a little adjustment. It's okay to mull things over because you grow and you evolve when you're in the discernment process. Things shift and you begin to know and understand as you go along. And so take your time with this particular process.
So in this process, it's also normal to have some reservations and concerns about asking for what you want. And all of this is this process of what's coming up within you. As you ask, as you express your desire to the universe, it's bound to bring up everything that's in the way of you getting what you want, all of your limiting beliefs, etc., any part of you that doesn't feel deserving of this. The reservations and concerns that might arise be about, just giving yourself the permission to ask for what you want, to just say, it's okay for me to ask for what I want. I also do a lot of coaching, and I find this as a serious, very common concern with folks, and did for myself when I was much younger, that I had kind of come from a tradition where asking for what you want was not appropriate. You were always supposed to be giving to other people or letting other people go first. So that was just a skill in and of itself I had to learn. So giving yourself permission to ask for what you want. Self-worth issues. Am I worthy? Can I really ask for what I want? And it can get a little scary. Say whatever it is that you want is probably bigger, more expanded than you are right now, because it's something that you want. It's something you want to bigger, and it may bring up all kinds. Am I worthy? Can I really do that? Can I really ask for that fabulous thing that I want? Also, determining your own values and your priorities in your life. What are the most important things? How does it fit in with where you want to go? And I'll tell you that this is where this process becomes the good news. Because not only do you come to this contract, many aspects of your life get to be examined, and some of them will fall into order in this process. There's fear of the boomerang effect. If I get this good thing, is something bad going to happen? And some cultures, ethnicities, that's a very common thing. People get good things and they think something bad's going to come after that. So you need to look at that and, do I have to give to get? Can I just receive? And often, I think that whole idea of receiving is one of the aspects of this process that for some of us, that's going to be the most challenging piece. I'm a giver. Most of the people who come to something like this are givers. They're people who are interested in self-improvement and their spiritual life and the concerns of the planetary awakening. That idea of, can I just get this for me, or do I have to give to get? Maybe possible that part of the thing that you want to do in your contract is some kind of exchange somewhere, but it's not a necessary requirement. Is my contract set in stone? No. It is not set in stone. It is something that you can revise. Now, how can you revise that? You will revise that because your consciousness expands. When you make this connection with a co-creative partner that represents your higher power, or your angel, or however you understand that, you're raising your consciousness. You're raising your awareness. And so as you go through this process, you will raise your awareness. You may become aware of a bigger piece of this or something else entirely. Like this was the first idea about the contract, was a first step to something even greater. So the contract is not written in stone, it's written in your heart. And as your heart and your consciousness develops, you can change it as is appropriate and truly reflects where you are as you move forward in your life.
I definitely went through a stage when I did not know what I wanted or could not ask. That was a period in my life. And in discovering what you want, you may have to weigh or prioritize your request, look at it from different sides. Your contract is not set in stone. I tell this story. I once had a client years ago that asked to go to Africa. Now, she meant for vacation, but she was not too clear on that point, and she forgot that she was in the Foreign Service, but she was about to retire. In any case, she got reassigned to Africa. Then she had to go in and decline the transfer, but she also rewrote her contract. So, nothing is set in stone. You discover things as you're going along, think I want this, and then I think I'm going to renegotiate. That certainly is possible. So in the discovery process, people come to it from different directions, different ways. Some people know what they want exactly, right from the get-go. They just have to figure out how to state it, but they're clear on what they want. They just need a little time to formalize it, but they have a good idea when they're starting out.
People come to the process of wanting or desiring in three different ways. Some people have never heard that wanting and manifesting could be an option. They don't know where to begin. Determining desire is a learning process, kind of knowing what it is that you really, really desire. And there may be impeding emotional factors, such as feeling unworthy, though you are, of course, born worthy. I think I'd add here on this, too, for myself, my religious background did not encourage that you should ask for what you want. That wasn't a skill that was taught in my home, and it was something that I really had to learn was okay to do. And some of you may have had that experience, too, in your family or in your religion or the school you went to or that kind of thing. So those things are bound to come up in this process, and you want them to, actually. This process of doing this contract is also going to give you an amazing opportunity to release some old patterns and some limiting beliefs you might be holding. And it's really one of the big bonuses of this process.
I think that we don't have a whole lot of role models around asking. Certainly, I can concur with what Lucky is saying about a religious background. It's very foreign to some people to ask for something, and it takes a while to get in that mode. In the beginning, it can seem like a daunting task, and there are emotions that come up around it. That's part of the process also. So there's a process of letting go when you're discovering what it is that you would want. This is just a different path from those people that already know exactly what they want. And as far as being worthy, this is a gift you were born with. We all were born with it. It's not a matter of earning it. We are worthy. The third way that people come to this is some people want what a higher power would want for them, whether they call that power God, soul, spirit. They're in a place of surrender. They're in a place of acceptance. They feel loved. They feel supported in this process, and they're ready to say, I surrender, I accept. Yes is another one that I think of in regards to this. Even if you have a desire contract later in your life, you may have a surrender one. Or if you're formulating a surrender one now, at some point later in your life, you may have a desire contract. It's like a pendulum that swings back and forth. Either one will work for you.
So the process of finding out what's most important to you right now and what is most appropriate at this time really ends up being the most important part of this process. What do you want? What's most important for you at this time?
If this is your first time ever doing a contract like this, I would say simple is best. The more complex your contract is, the more you have to handle starting out. What you want in the beginning is to have some success, to make some connection to your co-creative partner, to have some sense of how the give and take works. If you're just starting out, a simple contract might be best for you. There's going to be plenty of contracts, plenty of requests that may be a consideration for you.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my own discovery process in this finding the part-time job. I'm excited about being an astrologer and participating in that, and I'm on the board of the local astrology group, and I'm doing things and having fun, but I don't have the income that I really need. And I'm quickly going through the money that I've saved from my previous jobs, and I really come to the awareness, okay, I need to get a part-time job, but I don't want a job that's going to distract me from the path that I'm on. So really the first thing I want is more financial security. That's the first thing probably that I had the awareness of. Oh, gosh, I can see this isn't moving as fast as I thought it would. And I knew very little about having a business at that point. So I thought, okay, how will that work? And then I thought, well, you know, getting a part-time job would be good. And then it was, well, what would I be willing to do? Because I didn't want to do something that was so uncomfortable that, you know, I just recovered from it, versus I wanted something that I would enjoy, that would support the aspect of myself that actually likes working with other people and being involved in group activities. So I thought I could get a part-time job at a good agency, you know, some organization that's doing good work. Okay, great. Then I thought, well, how much time would I want to put in at a job? And I figured that started to think about what that was. And it came out to 20 hours a week. And then I thought, well, and then how much money do I really want to earn? And I figured out what I wanted for an hourly wage. And these things didn't happen like in a couple hours. It was over time. I was kind of feeling through, oh, okay, part-time. Some people do hire part-time people. I was pretty young at the time, so I wasn't really savvy about how it might work. I'd never worked part-time anywhere. I worked through all the pieces, and as I went through these pieces, also I had to feel all those feelings of, well, who would hire me part-time, and what would I do part-time, and what would be my value, you know, as a part-time worker. And then could I really ask for this money that I wanted as a part-time worker, da-da-da. So just giving you some examples of my process in the discovery, what I wanted, before I actually came to the framing of my request.
I think that was really helpful for people, Lucky. I read a book, and I thought, I want that crystal. There wasn't the amount of thought that went into the discovery that Lucky was talking about.
Let me just say this. We want you to see that it's a diverse process. There's no cookie-cutter process here. We've got some steps and some ways that we think this progresses, but your process could be very individual. Just wanted to mention that.
The second step is the translation. Your desire has to be translated into concrete, specific terms for the contract to make it grounded, make it real. In other words, you need to have some specificity. When you focus in and you make it clearer, there's power in the definition, and that's why the definition becomes so important. Energy follows thought. If it's in words, then you're giving it definition with words. So this is the step of the translation, and it can occur in a number of different ways. Bucky has talked a little bit about how she was in the process of translating as she was discovering, and she'll talk more about that too.
So your desire must be translated into concrete, specific terms for the contract. Make it grounded and real. And in other words, my favorite phrase is, what does that look like? What would it look like if I was working part-time and making the money I wanted, or whatever you might be doing? What do you envision doing, being, having, or giving? What does it all look like when it comes together? You know, one of the things I often use with my coaching clients in terms of working through what they're working on is, you know, if you don't know where you're going,
Any road will take you. If there's something that you really want, you have to be able to set the map. You have to know where you're going so the universe can deliver it to you and that you can do the steps that you need to do in this co-creative process to realize your dreams.
This measurable piece is so helpful. Sometimes you will be moved from inside yourself to do something that may appear to be abstract, like I want to have a better meditation practice, or I want to be able to understand some aspect of yourself better, that kind of thing. All those things would be possible if you can really get clear about the piece, and this is the piece that you can use for evaluating those things that are not quite so concrete as jobs and crystals, which is, what would your life look like if this thing happened? Okay, what would be different in your life? So it's another way to use it as a tool for discerning what you want. All of these things can really help you figure out what I really want. Like sometimes I've done that and I've looked at the picture in the future and I go, oh, I don't know that I want that about something. I'm not sure that's exactly what I want, which then leads me back to reevaluating and looking, oh gosh, it turns out this is what I really want. I thought I wanted that, but what I really want was underneath that. And it has also been helpful to wake up in an office and go, this is exactly what I wanted my life to look like. This is the job I wanted, and I knew it and I saw it and I knew I had done it.
So seeing is believing, and in this process, what you're doing with the translation is you're beginning to see it in your mind's eye, and believing leads to manifestation. Picturing it, like athletes before they go into a big game or in the Olympics or whatever, they run through their program or their steps beforehand. They might be listening to music, but you can see them practicing and putting it in their mind, what it is they're going to be doing. It's a process of giving your desire translation, giving it definition so that it becomes more concrete, that it has form in your mind, which leads to form physically.
And also this process, as I'm sure some people are familiar with, it actually starts to initiate some chemical reactions in your body as you get clear about what it is that you're wanting, that you're able to visualize, and is very attractive, too. It's a very attracting principle. So if your contract is written, what words describe what you wish to manifest? And this, I find, is one of the most interesting parts for me, because I will sometimes write sentences and sentences and sentences, and I'm changing one word in it, and then I'm changing 3 words in it, and then I'm putting this there and that there, as I really find the language, and then there's a point at which it's like, whoa, this is it. This really describes what I want. And if your contract is symbolic, because some of you may want to draw a picture or make a sculpture or collage or have a symbol of any kind. So if your contract is symbolic, what symbols represent what you wish to manifest? When you look at that object or you look at that picture or you look at whatever you might want to create, does it really inspire in you what it is that you want?
The interesting thing about a symbolic contract is that it can be multidimensional. For example, a garden with a heart-shaped path in it can mean many things. Just going into that garden and walking that path can bring up the issues of love, compassion, service, also withholding, or where you're not being loving, or even vulnerability. So a symbolic contract can have ramifications beyond just the symbol because of what it stirs in you.
Mm-hmm.
What is important is that whatever media you use, you translate your desire into concrete and specific terms, terms that clearly indicate success or an attainment. This is important because when you are concrete, you establish measurable results so that you will know when you have succeeded and succeeded completely. And it is the symbolism or the words that you choose, the terminology, that brings things into form because energy follows thought.
This is really true. I think in my early days of experimenting with this process, idea of being in a co-creative manifestation process, I was not willing to be really clear and to somehow know when I got things, know where I was in the process. So I'm underlining this, that being able to know what it is you want and where you are in the process can be very, very helpful. I'll tell you a little bit how I actually translated mine. After thinking it through and doing some writing about it and probably doing some meditation about it too, at the time I came up with a really specific description. I talked about how many hours I wanted to work. I talked about how much money I wanted to make and about the kind of work I wanted to do. That I wanted to do something that was be of service to humanity in some way, something that would use my talents well and my skills. It was really very concrete and very direct.
For me, as far as being concrete and direct, it was the tantric twin crystal, the 2 points the same size, common slope, rainbow. I mean, it doesn't get much more specific than that. I didn't even know if this crystal existed. And then saying, I'm not going to buy it, I'm not going to look for it, I'm not going to search, I'm not going to ask, I'm not going to write it down, record. I was very specific, and it was done very quickly in my head without a whole lot of thought.
So we're going to talk about a few do's and don'ts at this point in terms of composing a contract. First of all, simple is best to start off with. If you have a lot of experience in this, and you'll know how to guide yourself, but simple is best. And I'll tell you from my experience, too. I can remember the first few times that there would be, I want that, and I want this, and I want, because somehow I had this idea that this was going to be my only opportunity, and that's not true. So start simple, and as Mary said a little bit earlier, experience the success of that. Then you'll have the desire to want to do more. The contract is about you and not about others. So you can have a contract like, I wish Susie would give me her diamond ring, or I wish that someone would change their behavior. That's not what this is about. It's about you. You'll say what you want, what's specific to you. And then you express what you want, not what you don't want, because subconscious only hears the big words. So it wants to hear what you want and what it is that you want to manifest. Instead of saying, I don't want to have to worry about my bills anymore, you would want to say, I have all the money I need and want to pay my bills. Use positive language and don't use negatives at all. No nots, no uns, no versions of those, because they aren't talking about coming from your heart.
My first contract was very, very simple. I remember it being on a piece of paper about the size of a Post-it note. You know, simple can be best, certainly, in regards to starting out. It's also important to stay in the present tense. In other words, you don't want to say, I will have, I will do. You want to say, I am doing, I have. You want to bring the future to the now, so stay in the present tense. Make I statements. That means not talking about other people. It's really about you. So put the I in there in regards to that. Being concrete and specific, certainly we've mentioned that. But also being grateful for the experience, I think, is important. that whole attitude of working with a co-creative partner, being in the world in this manner, there should be a sense of I'm grateful, I'm thankful for the experience. Even when you don't quite hit the mark, then you can say, thank you for the manifestation, what I really want, and then you can adjust, you can renegotiate. But always be thankful, because it might sputter in the beginning, you're priming the pump. Have this attitude of gratefulness in the process.
Your contract or request can be written in the form of a request, a poem, a prayer, a letter, an affirmation. Any of those are possibilities. If it's written, those are your options, whatever works.
If you choose something that's visual, like a garden, you can pay attention to what plants you put into the garden. Are they medicinal? Do they have certain meanings? What kind of weeds grow in your garden? Is the garden a labyrinth? Is it something that you're investigating? And are there different ways to go? Do they have different meanings, the path? What animals come to visit? You can do a storyboard, a collage. You can draw a cartoon. It can be an artistic rendering. Any of these things are possible with a visual contract. Be very creative in this process. It can also be a graphic art piece. It can be symbolic. This particular person wanted not only to love well, but also be well loved. Put together this particular graphic.
Another kind of medium, your contract or request can be auditory. It could be a song, it could be a rhythm, it could be a rap, it could be a sound. If you're extremely auditory or somebody who sound is really part of it, there may be something, the sound of a fountain or a certain tune or something like that that might symbolize what it is that you want and evoke those feelings very powerfully for you.
So asking is a learning process, and you can change, you can refine, you can rewrite, renegotiate your contract at any time. And so have fun with this. Play with this. You can do a do-over anytime. And don't be afraid. Don't be shy or uneasy. The worst that can happen is that you get a no answer or you get redirected. And you might get redirected to something better. You might get an upgrade. So there's no penalty in asking. And so please feel free to have fun with this.
So avoiding negativity is an important thing because you don't want to draw that. If we're in the process of attracting what we want, we don't want to draw that negativity. So protect the sacredness of your contract. You really want to be attentive. If you were to share your contract with someone, who is the person who's going to support you in that? Who's the person who's going to appreciate the effort you're putting out and the vulnerability in sharing it? Look for supportive people or form a group. We've had groups of people who did this together, and that can be really fun. Get some friends together, and you all write contracts and support each other in that. So you're not going to discuss your contract with everyone, and you're going to beware of negative messages from others, like say, oh, well, I'm working on getting a new job, and someone just said, oh, well, the economy's so bad, that might never happen. You want to try and avoid those kinds of comments. Not that I think the person has any ill will to you, but that energy is not going to be attractive to you for what you want.
I also tend to be somewhat quiet about my contracts because I never want to imply that my co-creative partner is a wish-fulfilling genie. We're partners. We're working together on manifestation, and we either succeed or we fail together. But we're in this, moving towards something better, something higher, something that is a beautiful relationship. And talking about the contract and the process with those that don't understand can really put a damper on that and can actually make you feel like your ship is sinking. So I do protect my contracts.
In composing the contract itself, mine was very simple. I worked on it, eventually got it down to, I can't remember exactly what I said at the moment. I want this part-time job. I want it to be this many hours. I want to make this much money, and I want to be doing this kind of work. And it was really a couple of sentences at the most.
I never wrote anything down. It was just a simple verbal statement shot out of my head in under 60 seconds. So composition was very quick. When you initiate your contract, think of it as a ritual. Some are very simple. The rituals are very simple, or it's a matter of just signing it or making the request. But you can also create a ritual around the signing. You can do this quietly, alone, or you can do it with a group, and you can celebrate. You can eat, drink, and be merry in regards to signing your contract. Whatever you want to do for that ritual, it's entirely up to you.
This is closely related to the medium format you choose. It could be signing a paper. I've done that one. You could mail it to yourself, but that's a fun thing to do. Or mail it someplace important. Framing it, having it posted somewhere. I've done that one too. Or hanging it on a wall. Lighting a candle, burning incense, any of those things. You can make a dedication to a saint, a guru, a principle, or a purpose, something that inspires you. Or make an offering. Maybe you want to do some kind of offering at an altar, or maybe you want to send a contribution to an organization that you respect just out of the generosity of your spirit and the willingness to acknowledge that you're spreading your gifts.
As we said before, you can initiate your contract at any time, and certainly you can see that from the examples that Lucky and I have given.
So how I activated the contract that we've been using as an example on my part, as I said, I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and someone had given me a box that had been energized, a spiritual teacher. So I folded the paper and I placed it in the box. I forgot that I had done that over time.
After I stated that I wanted this crystal and what I would do, what I wouldn't do, I just put it in God's hands and basically forgot about it. I figured I'd remember it when it showed up. So I just waited for the crystal to appear. So there really wasn't any signing or official activation going on. What you want or your desire is the emotion or the energy that fuels attraction and manifestation. This is why it's important that the requests come from you, that it's not the expected thing, the normal thing, the rational thing, the safe thing, or anything like that, because you need that emotion in order to fuel the attraction. And when I think about, in regards to the crystal, maybe it wasn't so much that I wanted the crystal as much as I wanted to test the system, not even knowing that I was doing that at the time. Certainly when the crystal showed up, it was a major turning point in my life. So the fuel or emotion behind manifestation is very important. You want that emotion in order to have things come to you, in order to attract things.
So openness is the attitude that facilitates receiving, because what you want might not manifest exactly as you pictured. You might be upgraded to something better. You need to be open to course corrections. And also in my case, I really think I have often not even totally understood the essence of what I wanted. What shows up along the way has really clarified many things for me.
Yeah, openness is so important because it fuels receptivity. And you can think of this like driving. When you're driving, you have to watch the road, you have to read the signs, you have to pay attention to the weather, your speed. There might be bumps in the roads, there might be a pothole that you have to go around. You know, you turn left, you turn right, perhaps there's a detour. So desire fuels the attraction, but then openness leaves you receptive to the way that things are going to manifest, which might be outside of your original expectation. Trust that whatever higher power you seek assistance from regarding manifestation is not trying to trick you. I have said many times that God is not sitting up there with a baseball bat or a lightning bolt, waiting for you to ask for something that you're not supposed to ask for. That's not the case. It's okay to ask, and don't think of it in terms of that there's some type of trick. It's important for you to trust.
Manifesting through attraction and receptivity is a process that can take on many different forms. You need to be alert and aware to receive divine upgrades open-handedly, allowing yourself to receive, which I will admit was something that I had to learn to do. It was not something that I naturally did.
And I think the first time you're upgraded, it really makes a believer out of you. And this might occur, one door might be closing while another one is opening. And so it's important to keep this in mind if things aren't going exactly according to your plan. There may be an adjustment going on, a reorientation. Don't get disappointed. Don't get angry. Just stay in observation mode. Your co-creative partner has a better idea and a greater creative potential. And so you need to step back and see if there's an upgrade that is occurring.
Openness to receiving and waiting patiently to attract the perfect job for me. I really need to say at this point how immature I was in the process of this example that we're showing you. And I choose to show this example because it has a lot of spontaneity and not perfect, lovable imperfections. But I did put the request into the sacred box, and I put the box in a special place and went about my life. What I do think that I have come to and know now is that as I have done this in a more conscious way, as I've matured over the years in doing that, I then see, once I've made this request, that sense of openness opens up to just see everything that's going on around me and how it might be related to the process of my request. And I'm not talking about hypervigilance. I'm just saying, oh, look, that's interesting, that license plate just went by, or that happened, or I ran into somebody who had a piece of information for me. And all those things have come to me in maturity and through practice. I got the job. I got the exact job that I wanted, even in my naivete and immaturity. But I tell you, it wasn't until I was sitting in the desk at the job that I went, oh my gosh, this is it. I was not totally consciously aware of my own process. So that was very interesting how that happened.
In regards to remaining open to the crystal, actually went to the back of my mind. However, it was 6 months later when I was sitting with Diana Boychek, who's since passed, and she's showing me a feather collection when she stopped and started conversing with someone on the ceiling. She's like, yes? Huh? Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. No problem. Okay. And at that point, she reaches into her bag, saying, they just told me this is for you. And what she did was drop into my hand a tantric twin crystal. And this is the crystal with the 2 points. You can see point 1 and point 2, and the dividing line in between. they're the same height, the same length. There's a common slope there right along the dividing line, and there was a rainbow in between. The rainbow faded when Diana passed, so the rainbow is no longer there. But this crystal came to me without me ever saying anything to anyone, verbally, ever writing anything down, asking, looking, anything of the sort. And that really was an eye-opener for me, that this could happen without any effort on my part at all.
The co-creative partnership, the last step, the sixth step in the process. Implied in your contract is that you are seeking the assistance of a higher power of your choice. This initiates a co-creative partnership with something beyond your mental capacity. It can include your mental capacity, that's not excluded, but it's going to go much further than that and probably involve your body, mind, spirit, heart, open arms, so much more.
And you might want to think about what that higher power is. What is that power that you can cooperate with and co-create with? What do you call that power? How do you relate to it? What's the level of trust that you have? You're not going to think your way to manifestation. It's a different kind of process that has to do with cooperation and partnership that allows you to experience insight, inspiration, and enables you to get information beyond thinking what that information is or rationalizing it, intellectualizing it. And this is why quiet time is so important, because it allows that communication process to take place. When you're working with your co-creative partner, it is a process of listening and also taking action. There's a give and take that is going on. And in the process, you need to take appropriate action. Your co-creative partner may be pulling energetic strings for you on some other plane, but you might also have responsibilities here to complete in that regard. This will come out with time and also as you become more sensitive in regards to the listening process.
And the thing that I would say underline in that is that this is an active process, not a passive process. You're engaging with your co-creative partner. This action piece is inspired action. You'll feel inspired.
Whatever you consider that power to be, you're looking for feedback and you're opening a door. And that door opens through being more aware, being open to insight, being open to inspiration. Sometimes it's like, I could have had a B8. I could have done something different. Sometimes it's very simple, but just being aware of signs and symbols can get you started on this process of being open to a co-creative partner.
Then we talk a little bit about guidance versus answers. So you're establishing a relationship with a spiritual entity of some kind, however you understand that, God, an angel, maybe even in your higher self. So you're in this relationship. Number one is this process will make that relationship more conscious. So yay for that. And that, to me, is one of the reasons to get involved with that, is to become more aware of that relationship, more co-creative in it, more participatory in that relationship. Guidance versus answers. This is something that comes up a lot with my coaching clients, which is they say, well, I put out this request. I don't get the answers that I want. And the truth is sometimes we get a great answer. Sometimes it says, turn left here, or sometimes it says, okay, on Tuesday, go there. But very often it's more an aspect of guidance. And we get a little piece of what might be to turn out to be our answer for this. little piece of information, a little look at something else, a little picture of it, or sometimes we get big answers, but most of the time we get these little pieces of guidance, little pieces from the universe saying, hi, look at this, and how does that stimulate you and move you forward? The universe doesn't really want to take over this process for you, and you don't want the universe to take over this process, because this is one of the great sandpapers of our soul's development, this process of co-creating with the universe, where we get to look at all the things that come up and that promote the own growth of our soul's journey and realization of new aspects of ourselves. Sometimes you'll get some kind of big answers, but for the most part, the process is important as the result.
I think one of the biggest signs that I can remember that a client had is that I had this client one time that was considering whether or not she should go study in India. And she was driving on the expressway when a flatbed truck went by with a huge ceramic elephant on it. And on the back of the truck it said, "Go India." We don't always get anything that obvious.
This is a co-creative partnership. It is a give and take between you and your co-creative partner. It's going to be a two-way process. Where does that leave us? That leaves us in the place of needing to take action on insights that we have. And that action can be from your contract is to find a new house. Okay, find a new place to live. The action might be to go buy a newspaper. Get inspired to take a newspaper. It's a terribly obvious thing to do, but it might be a more subtle thing. You may all of a sudden be thinking about, oh, Caroline just keeps on coming to mind all day long. I think I'll give her a call. You might give Caroline a call. She may or may not be the connection, but it's worth it taking that action so that you let the universe know that you're in participation. I'm here, I'm listening, and I'm taking action. And those actions, whether they produce a direct result, I promise you, is just like they say in physics. It's easier to guide a moving object than something that's standing still. And so taking action in this process, whatever it is, sometimes the action may be to meditate more. It doesn't necessarily be a physical action. It could be an action to drink more water, something like that, this idea that you get, this piece of guidance. My encouragement would be to go with that. Same way we might put some of these subtler little symbols or signs that come to us away. The same thing true here, just these actions that may not seem to fit in at all, but it's worth giving them a try and moving forward so that the process continues to move. You continue to follow up in your insight. Some of them will be obviously panning out and some of them won't, but don't be discouraged. It's a mystery. We don't totally understand everything that's happening. Just believe that in what you perceive, what you get the message for yourself is true. Keep on going. How it worked for me, as immature as I was at that time and not really understanding, but I knew that I had this sacred box that someone had actually found for me, had it blessed for me. I knew that it was empowered with a spiritual energy that would empower my request, and I placed my request there. I was not sophisticated at the time as I am now to really look and see the signals that are coming around or listen to the voice that speaks within me. But I can see that in that young woman there who put that piece of paper, the young me, into that box, that was as much as I was able to know at the time. But it was this, okay, we're in this together, and I need your help.
And for me, I don't think there was a sense of partnership at this point. If anything, it was like I dumped it into God's lap. My part was to wait patiently. and that's basically it. So there wasn't an interaction. There wasn't any talking going on, and maybe I wasn't even that sensitive. It was all very new to me in this process.
In my case, it was even better than I had thought it was possible. And then when I got there, I then began to say, okay, if I can do this, now what can I do even more? And in my case, it was I wanted my own office rather than sharing an office. And even though as a part-time worker, within too long, I did have my own office because I wanted responsibility. I didn't want to just go in and do my 25 hours a week and then leave, just paperwork or something like that. I wanted to be in charge of something. So I managed to get myself in charge of a program in this agency and got my own office. At first I just thought it was a job, but then when I got there I said, nah, it's got to be valuable to me.
I've been asked, how long does manifestation take? And the best answer is it depends. I've seen someone manifest the list in a day and a half. I've also seen long-term requests regarding manifestation. And the best I can say is that it depends on a couple of different factors. It depends on the complexity of your request. Do you just want a red car that's a convertible, or do you want to become a doctor in a third world country? That's going to take you a little bit longer, particularly if you have to go for training and you're in college and haven't been to med school yet. So the complexity of the contract dictates, to a certain extent, the length of time for manifestation. The more involved your contract is, you might want to put signposts of success or advancement so that you know you're making progress, that it has different stages as you move through it. It also depends on how far your starting point is from the ending point. Do you have to get credentials? Are there preconditions or licensing? Are there things that you have to do beforehand before you can start to fully manifest? It also depends on the extent of your participation. That can work one way or the other. It might be that you have a lot of participation on your part, but there are a lot of steps you have to go through. Or if you're not participating a lot and you're expecting to manifest mostly through your co-creative partner, then that may have an effect on the amount of time that it takes. There are natural restrictions. They can be weather-related. They can relate to family responsibilities, location, travel time. There are a number of different aspects that also can relate to the process of manifestation. And all of these things go into the amount of time required to manifest.
In both of our examples, in some way, we both just released to the universe what we wanted in these early examples. The other way to go with this process is continuing focused attention. So you could have either style practice. One is to just let it go to the universe. This is my wish. I let it go. I don't focus on it a lot. I expect it to show up, meaning you might write it down or do the creation or whatever, but you let go of it, release it to the universe. The other, the continuing focused attention, and this is one that I found works kind of well for me now, is to have some kind of reminders around periodically for me. So it might be Post-it notes on a mirror. I might have the contract somewhere where I can look at it on a regular basis. I remember the last one that I did in 11, I had put it on pretty paper and put it in a plastic cover, and I had it on the wall, and that was all very nice, and so I could see it. Any kind of reminder could be a stone, you could have whatever. So there's two different ideas. One is just releasing it to the universe and letting it go, and the other is keeping your focus on it, paying greater attention to it. To worry about, what manifests, any missed opportunities or insights, that you feel like you can't totally grasp, because everything comes around again. The universe doesn't do something for you once and then say, oh, well, you missed that, you're not going to get it. That's not how it works. The universe is trying to get your attention all the time. We'll bring back any kind of real learning that you need to have for your own growth and for the realization of your greater purpose. It always comes back, so not to worry. Sometimes we miss something and we realize that, oh gosh, I should have done that. And you know what? That's the lesson. Oh, I didn't even know that was really important at the time. But now with some looking back, some reflection, I see that was a really important thing. I should have done that. Well, I can promise you that's going to come around as an opportunity for you again. This really is a spiritual journey that you're embarking upon, that by the very process of saying, I am co-creative with some larger force in the universe, however it appears or is for you, that process it's pretty powerful to just say you're going to do that. And this process is going to bring you closer to your higher self, to your own divine manifestation, and it's going to bring you closer to your co-creative partner. And it has lots of benefits that I encourage you to observe what's happening in other aspects of your life as you pursue the contract, as you pursue this process, however you choose to do that, because it isn't just about this. It's about every aspect of your life, deepening your relationship to a higher power, and really getting into a relationship that will be ongoing for you. You know, as Mary said several times, this is really a life skill that we're teaching in manifestation, for sure, how to get the things that you want, and also for how to be in interaction with your higher power.
The next video in this series is the co-creative partner. What follows is a listing of the topics included in that video. We will define what is co-creation. What is a co-creative partner? Who is your personal co-creative partner? What are your expectations of your co-creative partner? Why is it a good thing to have a co-creative partner? How do you connect with your co-creative partner? What senses are awakened to subtleties during communication? And in what ways do you perceive? In this video, we will begin a discussion of the communication process as it relates to the co-creative partner. The information in this course is based on the book Heart Journey, written by Mary Shea under the spiritual pen name Mary Juno. The book is divided into 3 parts. Part 1, the initiation, is about writing your Sacred Heart contract. Part 2, the co-creative partnership and manifestation process, gives you communication techniques and also troubleshooting tips for the manifestation process. Part 3, spiritual development and heart openings, lists 12 co-creative thought transformations that will increase your ability to attract, and 8 stages of heart openness. The more your heart is open, the greater your ability to receive abundance. The book is available at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and your local bookstore. Also available in digital format everywhere for the iPad, tablet, iPhone, Android phone, Kindle, Nook, and computer. There are free apps available for all formats.
Both Mary and I are available for individual coaching around your contract, and it can be around anything, knowing what you want, figuring out what you want, consent and composing your contract, or a specific activation time. Whatever you might want to do, we're happy to assist you in that way and are available for that.
Lucky and I would like to thank you for your interest in our videos and courses. If you would like to contact us for coaching or for any type of consultation, the contact information appears on this slide. both email, websites, and telephone numbers.